Unless you're a gamer that only plays Fortnite and Candy Crush, you've probably at least heard of the Fallout series. It is extremely popular, for good reason, but the thing is, every single video game in that series is definitely not well known. You see, Bethesda purchased Fallout in 2007, and then a year later they came out with Fallout 3, and this would be the very first mainstream title in the series. But the thing with that is that I don't know if you're familiar with numbers, but there is a 1 and a 2 that comes before 3. Yeah, I think you get where I'm going with this. Yeah, there was, of course, one day, once upon a time, a Fallout 1 and a Fallout 2. These were around quite a while ago. Fallout 1 came out in 97, and Fallout 2 came out a year later. Now, it is important to note, because it's very relevant here with what we're going to talk about, is that Fallout 1 and 2 was actually published by, not Bethesda, but a company called Interplay Entertainment. So, yes, once upon a time, they owned the Fallout IP. Now, with Fallout 1 and 2 being so old, there comes the conversation of source code. In case you're not familiar, this is something that is basically the kind of the lifeblood of a video game. If you can get a game's source code, then you basically understand it from the inside out. And commonly, this is what is used to make mods for games with ease. Not just mods, I should say, but I mean, really just like game-changing experiences using the same game. So obviously, it's very important, and especially it's important with the whole conversation around game preservation. So here's the thing with that. There is a video game website called Video Gamer, and an article was just published that I am going to link in the description that is very big. Yeah, what it reveals about the source code of Fallout 1 and 2 is very good news. Now, it looks like they say that last week they actually interviewed Tim Kaine. Now, he is basically the creator of the Fallout IP. He said the source codes were destroyed. Not lost, but apparently quote-unquote destroyed. That's kind of an interesting choice of words, and I will actually get into that in a little bit. But it turns out since that article came out, somebody with Interplay who worked there, a few decades ago, reached out to the same website, Video Gamer. So this was Rebecca Heineman, and it says that she revealed that she not only, I think that's a typo there, not only kept the source code for both of the original Fallout games, but a slew of other Interplay releases as well. So she goes on to talk about how she actually has all of the source codes for all projects that she has ever worked on. She talks about Wasteland, which is actually a game that was, I just looked this up, otherwise I wouldn't have known this. Believe it or not, this game was made before Fallout 1, and I believe Fallout 1 was made as kind of like the spiritual successor to this game. So anyway, due to kind of game preservation efforts that it sounds like she was going into decades ago, she talks about how she actually, back then when she was working on a Mac OS port of the original 2 Fallout games, and she says that both games are properly preserved, quote, up to M-Disc Blu-rays for long-term storage. Now, as somebody who has never heard of an M-Disc Blu-ray, I had to look this up, and yes, it does look like they have a lifespan of approximately 1,000 years. So yeah, it'll probably be kept in good condition. Now, it is kind of interesting, because going back to the comments that I said where Tim Kaine said that he thought the source code was actually destroyed, there is some truth to that. It says, now Kaine's comments on why the source code was assumed lost were not without merit at all. Heineman explained that Interplay management did order the destruction of property for anyone who left the company. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but basically she goes on to say that, yeah, Interplay kind of had this policy, at least back then, that if you were leaving the company, you were supposed to destroy, literally, all of the physical property you had that could contain, any kind of source code or any files. But it sounds like Rebecca, thankfully, did not do this. I'd assume she's not getting, some sort of a charge or a fine or anything. I think she's all good there, probably. And in fact, she did address the release of this code, and yeah, that's kind of where I think that if she did release it, unfortunately, that would probably what gets her in trouble. So it says that as the programmer explained, she cannot simply release the game's source codes to the wild, as they are actively sold products protected under copyright. In the past, she publicly released her port of Doom to the 3DO on GitHub, but Fallout is a little more complicated. Now, originally, I did want to take issue with the fact that they say that this is an actively sold product, like, they're not actually selling Fallout 1 and 2 anymore, but it turns out that's actually not true. I'm on Steam right now and I'm looking, and yeah, both games are $9.99 each, so, I feel like that's kind of rare for game preservation these days. I feel like every company should really do that with all of their old games, so yeah, that's awesome. So yes, overall, it's a fantastic fantastic to hear that this source code still does exist. You know, a week ago we thought that it didn't. We thought that it was just all destroyed. It was nuked, no pun intended. Okay, well, yes, pun intended. I think it's worth mentioning, too, that, you know, we've seen a lot of Fallout projects, like fan projects recently, and we even, about a year ago, I made a video on this. We had a Fallout 2 announcement for, like, a fan project. I guess they are remaking it in the Fallout 4 engine, so as cool as that is, that's probably not really going to need to have anything to do with the source code of Fallout 2, since they are just completely remaking it in a totally different engine. Regardless, it would be pretty cool to at some point see this source code get a public release, but I guess with both of those games still getting released digitally, at least on Steam, I probably won't happen anytime soon. I won't be holding my breath, but maybe Bethesda would hit us with something cool somewhere down the line now that we do know that it does exist.